Sasquatch, Yahoo, Phantom of the Forest, you Spearfinger, Fire Dragon, Ohio Grassman, Silver Giant, Bloodless Howler, West Virginia Vampire, Coyote King, Hogzilla, Devil, Dark Coyote Killer. Cave creature, Mothman, Smoke Wolf, a Lizard Demon, Ashman, Grafton Monster, Cow-killing Bastard, Shadow Creature, Dustman, Cherokee, Death Cat, Wild Man, Great Fire Rape. What else do I have to say? Steal yourself some chicken wire, and I'll get some lumber. Catch the Thunder Brothers. Don't you dare get out of the golf cart. We can keep our big seats while we hunt the Bigfeets. Snarly Gastro Team, Red Island Bear Beast, Silver Giant, Squalling Savage, Black Wolf was kind of average, Stone Giant, Raven Mocker, Midnight Whistler, Wampus Beast, Wawa Woman, Ohio Grassman again. Technically Huckleberry Wolfman or Wolf County, need to find the X again if we hunt the Lightning Man. Webster's Werewolf, Daily Howl, Kentucky Hellhound, Little Girl, Headless Horror, I can't take it anymore. Steal yourself some chicken wire, and I'll get some lumber. Catch the Thunder Brothers. Don't you dare get out of the golf cart. We can keep our big seats while we hunt the Bigfeets.
This here's Bigfeets, the only Mountain Monsters watch-along podcast. I'm Robert Brockway, coming to you, as always, soaked in my own piss and missing a boot.
And I'm Sean Baby. And in my previous wanderings through Paris, I had happened upon many strange sights, but perhaps the strangest occurred one month when dead cats seemed to appear everywhere. I learned later that the animals' bodies were filled with cocaine or heroin and then left at drop points. No one fooled with the carcasses except the drug buyers. Later, I adopted this ploy for my drops with the Soviets.
What?
Frank Dukes left drops in dead cats for the Soviet agents he was working with.
Frank Dukes learned to murder cats from like the cartel,
from drug dealers,
from the cartel, and then went on a cat murdering spree for the.
Nothing messes with it. You leave a dead cat in the street, it is there for the rest of all the days. That's why there's so many dead cats in the streets.
Holy shit!
And I am New York Times bestselling author Jason Pargin.
Right. I honestly forgot you were here. I was just going to keep talking about that.
I hide my drugs in Jason.
What the hell? What is this podcast about? What are we talking about? I just blew everything out of my head. All right. Well, while I recover and figure out what the hell we're talking about today, come support us on patreon.com/1900hotdog. We have written articles by the last living comedy writers. Everyone else is dead. The ones that we aren't keeping alive currently. Every single weekday, we also do our own podcast. You get bonus episodes of that podcast if you come support us. But mostly, I mean, fuck all that. Forget it. Let them die. Let the comedy writers die in the streets. If you like this podcast, that's how you support us. There aren't any ads here aside from the ones we're telling you right now. There never will be. Why? Who would do that? Nobody would ever volunteer for this. So come support us. Patreon.com/1900hotdog. Thank you.
Whose turn is it now?
I'm happy to promote my new product, Heroin-Filled Dead Cats. No one touches them.
And I am very proud to say my new book, I'm starting to worry about this black box of doom. NPR just came out with their list of their books we love from 2024, a list of 351 books that they enjoyed from this year, and my book was not on that list. I think there are only like 400 books published all year, so that means they felt like I was in the bottom 5% of all books published. No mention of it whatsoever.
Fucking woke strikes again. Woke PR. If you're just joining us, we're not really like that. Hold on. You could be started.
From the top.
Nope, I've got to interrupt you right there because I'm a professional, so I interrupt after one word of you starting to do the show. We have, of course, read the comments and seen your feedback from when we did part 1 of this 2-part episode. Part 1 was called The Lightning Man. This is the Thunder Brothers. Yes, we are going to address the elephant in the room. That this is a 2-part show, 2-part episode storyline about a powerful being trying to gather the elements of an apocalyptic weapon while the heroes try to stop them from gathering those elements. Here's how the timeline works. Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame came out in 2018. This two-part arc from Mountain Monsters aired in February of 2016, so I did some research. The screenplay of the two-part Avengers movies were handed in May of 2016, 3 months after these two episodes aired.
I was going to say.
Those two films match these two episodes beat for beat. Now, I assume this is all being hashed out in court. I don't want to say anything that could affect the court case. I assume the Mountain Monsters, the Ames team, is due between $50 and $100 million of the profits from Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. But you know how Hollywood math works. They're going to claim both of those movies made no money. But yes, obviously, I'm not speculating. It's obvious they stole these two episodes beat for their film. Yes, we did notice that.
Legally, Jeff is Ant-Man.
See, I feel like we were really tipped off. Like the clincher in that case is going to be the scene where Hulk pisses on Vision to save the world. Like that's exactly like almost to the timestamp mirrored in the episode. If you're just joining us and wondering what we're talking about, that's a bad idea. Obviously,
you fucked up.
Don't. This arc, I would say, is a good place to start if you like to start things randomly in the middle of them. Which why not? But this in particular that we're doing right now is the second part of a 2-part episode. So at least go back one episode and listen to the first one. It's the start of an epic hillbilly manga. I don't know why you would want to miss any of that. This is Mountain Monsters Season 2, Episode 12, according to the HBO Max order, which is the one we watch it in. It's called Bigfoot of Blair County, Thunder Brothers, sequel to Lightning Man. In Part 1, we learned of a skunk-striped Bigfoot named the Lightning Man and his gang of 7 other Bigfeets named the Thunder Brothers. It's just hilarious enough. But at the end of that episode, where we left off we learned that all of this rowdy motorcycle gang of Bigfeets were after some kind of secret magical artifact, because this is the best show on television. And that's the cliffhanger that we left off on. And when we pick this episode up, Buck is doing the truck briefing. So it is now Buck's truck briefing. We're missing the alliteration of Trapper's truck briefing. But hold on, because it rhymes. So that's why he's in control now. Clearly, he was the only one to step in. Buck reminds us we're going back to Blair County, Pennsylvania to hunt the Thunderman and his Lightning Brothers. Nope. That would be ridiculous. I'm sorry. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
That would be silly. It would be silly to have a gang of Bigfeets controlled by one elemental Bigfoot and then 7 other sub-Bigfeet that's named Thunderman and No, it's Lightning Man and Thunder Brothers. Buck reminds us that the first thing Buck says, he reminds us the last time they were here, they actually ran away without doing anything, without ever getting to the hunt stage, and then they just had too many questions. Now, I would not start an episode by telling people I just ran away from the last one if I was a monster hunting team, but I don't know. It's pretty brave. It's pretty brave.
He says a thing here where he says, this stone, the magical artifact they dug up from the barn, when a Bigfoot grabbed him on camera, he said it could be a big piece of the puzzle in proving that Bigfoot exists. I mean, we're in Act 3 of like a multi-generational Bigfoot fight. And he's like, I think this is the piece to get people to believe in it.
On Amazon, if you pause it, it's Buck, and in the corner it says Bigfoot. So that you know who else is in the scene. Like, I don't know why we're still doing the does he exist thing.
But other than the 4K video they recorded of a Bigfoot grabbing Buck's ankle, all they've got is this stone that they think the Bigfoot wants. Now, I think there are 2 big questions that the listeners/viewers have after having watched part 1 of The Lightning Man. 1, what happened to the humorous, whimsical box truck that they spent the first 25 minutes of the last episode doing box truck riffing on and the fact that there weren't enough seats for everybody. Here, they're just back in Buck's truck. Did they seriously rent that box truck just for those wacky shenanigans in the opening? Because we never saw it again.
Just for one day of the 2-day shoot, mind you.
Yes.
Couldn't afford the second day. It's $19.99 a day for that truck. The budget, I mean, that's all of our budget for craft services, man. So Buck also reminds us that whole setup, how he set up Jeff with that whole big wooden eagle thing, only to slap it right out of his hands and discovered his own MacGuffin instead. And he specifically reminds Jeff of this because Jeff is sitting shotgun in the truck as Buck tells him about his horrible defeat, his horrible and stunning defeat. And Jeff just has to sit there and have his own humiliations recapped for him. Like, last time in your pathetic life, here's what happened. Here's what I did to you.
You can tell he's pouting because he says that it makes no sense. Like, he's in a rare moment of logic. He says, why wouldn't Bigfoot just dig it up himself? It makes no sense. Which is really bad improv, and I think he's doing it specifically because he's pouting.
Yes, this is the other thing that I think listeners are wondering, because I think a lot of people, we made such a big deal out of the fact that they dug up this ancient 300-year-old, according to Jeff, artifact of a carved wooden bird, and made a joke of the fact that it never came up again in that episode. So I think a lot of people listening to this are saying, well, yeah, but it's going to come back in this one. Like there's a part 2. Oh no. Other than the fact that you can watch a very annoyed Jeff try to poke holes in, well, if it was so precious to him, why didn't he just dig it up? It wasn't buried very deep. You didn't bury a very deep, Buck. It was real easy for you to dig it up. Seems like it'd been real easy for him to dig it up over the last 100 years.
It was real hard for me to dig up mine. Remember how hard it was? Because mine's 3 feet tall and weighs 80 pounds, and I was out there all night. You remember that part? So Buck says Trapper sets up the witness meetings now. So that's like Trapper's off-screen role. So I guess we said he was like, well, I said he was like the Giles of Buffy before. I think he's more like a Bumble, like a Tinder for Bigfoot simps. Like he just gets people that want to simp for Bigfoot together to join forces. And we're going to go meet one right now. It's the first witness. His name is Larry. And Buck says, well, he wouldn't answer his phone, but we're going to show up anyway. And like, that's how you get shot, maybe by a Bigfoot. Ask Willie. It's his gun. Bigfoot took his gun.
The exact phrasing in the truck is, well, he don't want to talk to me, so I'm going to go knock on his door. And then Jeff says, that'll show. Best thing to do. Because Jeff is trying to get him shot.
Yeah. That's his only recourse now, is if he gets killed in like some sort of stand your ground situation. Almost, maybe with a Bigfoot. Anybody will do, maybe with a Bigfoot. But what I love about this is that he goes in to talk to Larry, right? He walks into Larry's garage and Larry's fixing up a Harley to let you know he's a no-nonsense guy. And Larry says he actually did answer the phone, and he specifically told Buck, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want you on my property. I've seen mountain monsters. I don't like it. I don't think it's a very good show. He didn't say it like, oh no, I've seen your show. It reveals too much. He was just like, I don't like it, and left it there.
Yep. A momentous occasion, because the first time anybody in the show has acknowledged that the show Mountain Monsters exists in their universe. Yeah. They have never run into a witness who's like, oh guys, yeah, I love the show. I love what you've done for Bigfoot hunting. Or hey, yeah, this thing I saw, it's kind of similar to what you guys saw in episode 5. I guess I would have been in episode 9, like if right somewhere, you never get that. So this guy's saying, I seen you. I know who you are. I seen your show. I don't like it. I don't want you or your cameras. I don't like the pincer movements. Never made sense. That strategy, the cameraman's refusal to catch anything, even though the creature is 1 foot away, will not pan your refusal to establish any kind of stakes. These creatures never. He doesn't go into that kind of detail.
It doesn't show a lot of faith in the viewer. Tone. Like, you have no faith in your audience, clearly. You don't. The best thing to do is allow us to add it up in our mind, and you never allow us to do that. You always just tell us the answer. No, I think it's probably just the witness fucking up the improv, being like, they didn't. they didn't get on the same page on what Buck actually did. So Buck is like, oh, he never picked up. And he's like, well, I picked up and told you to fuck off. But it makes Buck look really incompetent in his new role as leader. Like, he's just fresh in this leader, and he's getting shamed by this guy. He's like, no, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah.
And they cut back to Jeff just grinning naughtily. Like, he's listening to Daddy get a dressing down from the boss. He's just like, I love this.
He kind of lays it out that that they dug something up that had to be left buried. Like, he gives like the, you know, I'm the guy setting up the horror movie type of vibe. But here's the thing: is he seems a little cranky. But if someone cursed my world to Bigfoot Doom, I'd be probably more pissed than this guy. Like, I wouldn't be like, yeah, I've seen your show, I don't like it. I'd be like, you've undone the natural order of things. I'd at least explain what they did so that, like, when all we know is Bigfoot and Bigfoot flames, they know it was their fault. I don't want them thinking like, oh, look at the apocalypse. You think maybe this is why that guy in the garage was so mad at us last week? Like, no, you would know that you did this. I don't know. That's my point, is that the stakes for this Thunder Axe are so big, and this guy knows them. He's the only one who knows them. And he's like, I think you ought to just get out of here. I'm busy.
Sean is getting a little ahead because we've not.
I'm way ahead. I'm way ahead.
We've not let the audience know that this is an apocalyptic item that Buck has.
I feel
found,
like they
this
assumed
little
this was a very important item.
It's a big reveal, but yes, this is the world at stake.
I do want to give them credit because this is part of something that's kind of discouraging, which is an increase in overall quality of the show, because this is not a witness that they met standing in the middle of a grassy field. This is a guy, biker type dude, tattoos, in his garage, working on his motorcycle, and Buck interrupts him to talk to him. It feels so much more natural and so much more like a TV show, because this is like how a witness interview would go in Law and Order. Like, they would interrupt a tough dude working in his garage, working on his bike. He's like, what do you want? Like, there's drama, there's tension, and his whole thing's like, you should have left that thing where it was. It kind of looks like a real TV show, and you don't realize it until you see it. It's like, oh, they accidentally shot like an actual scene. I know it's goofy. I know everything about it is silly, but still.
Yeah, and it's not just that. This is something that we've been telling them to do forever, is to set up dramatic stakes early. And it's an old trope to be like, no, I'm not going to talk to you. Like, you should have left that in the ground. You get out of here. And that just sells like, oh, something's up. Something's mysterious and big is up. They've been trying and failing to do this. Not always trying, but always failing to do this for 4 years. This is season 4. And they finally got set up the danger early note.
Yes.
I think the first time.
And creating curiosity on the part of the audience, because they've got a question they want answered and they hit a roadblock. They don't get their answers. It's like, well, now we've got to figure out why is this such a big deal?
I mean,
it's not great, but it's way, way better than, season 1.
It's like indie horror movie 101, but we're no longer in the remedial classes. It's not 97 anymore. It's not 99. We're finally in college here. We're doing it. So it's time to go to the night investigation. Wait, no, it's time for the night witness. They kept the night part and went to another witness. It's important that we keep one thing.
This witness knows more than every witness they have or will ever talk to.
And that sucks, because he's fucking terrible.
He's so bad. Hard and lays out the whole lore.
He gets the best witness role anybody maybe has ever had, and he biffs it harder than anything I've ever seen.
Should have brought Weasel back for this.
Yeah, man. Or what was his name?
Johnny Ginseng.
Yeah, Johnny Ginseng Chase.
Crushed this.
The Mothman one. He would have brought like a methed up energy to it that would have really sold the stakes. No, well, who they meet is a guy named Shannon, and his identifiable headgear is a normal person's face. Like, worn like a mask, I guess. He has nothing. He's just a guy. He's wearing a hoodie and jeans. Like, this
looks like a member of the crew.
Yeah, this is the most normal dude that has ever been on this show.
What if it was a crew member? Because the last witness, bombed it so hard.
How could it have not been? Like, It had to have been just, and his delivery sucks. Like he's real awkward, and you can feel him wondering, like getting real self-conscious about the lines as he delivers them. He's like, "Lightning Man, huh? No wonder he's standoffish. No one likes the Lightning Man or the Thunder Brothers when they're mad." Like, you gotta sell this. You're given the biggest moment in the show. Buck shows him the stone artifact that he found, and Shannon says, "Oh my gosh, you boys are lucky to be alive. This right here is the Thunderblade." What are you doing?
I think what it was is when he saw the script, he was going to be he thought he was going to be delivering these lines to like 6-year-olds, and he met some grown men. He's like, "What is happening here? I don't understand."
I'm not even putting on the clown makeup if you're adults. Like,
now, a couple things to note. One, Shannon's role, like they got hooked up through Trapper's service that he runs.
Trapper's Tinder for Bigfoots.
He is a local Bigfoot expert. So again, if instead of talking to Trapper, which in real life Trapper is laid up, if this is Buck writing this, scripting it out, which I think it is, then they've had to go talk to a Bigfoot expert because they don't have one. It'd be nice if we had a guy like this on our team, a guy who knows something about Bigfoot, who had some sort of knowledge, but we have to go meet a guy around a campfire because, nobody on this team knows anything about Bigfoot.
Nope.
I would like to point out that still, for consistency's sake, a lot of format changes have happened, but in this episode, everybody still gets their bit, even when it doesn't make sense for them to have their bit. Everybody still gets their bit to do, except Jeff, whose bit is at the beginning to unveil the lore. He doesn't even get to say shit about counties. He doesn't even get to tell you the census of the county anymore.
I think of Jeff as a piss boy, and I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a lot of piss boy stuff in this episode. He really gets a chance to shine.
You're right. If that counts as his moment, he still doesn't get his moment. We'll get to that. We'll get to
there
that
so much.
later.
And by the way, for those following along, this in the film, this is where Bruce Banner returned to Earth and explained to Doctor Strange that Thanos is gathering the stones for the Infinity Gauntlet.
That's how play them side by side. Just sync them up like the Wizard of Oz and
one-on-one
Pink
TV.
Floyd.
They'll sync up.
They'll sync up perfectly. Shannon goes on to say the Thunderblade is missing, or the Thunder Axe is missing 2 items: the handle and the leather lashing that goes with it, because the only thing that can harm the Lightning Man is the Thunder Axe. It's easily the best line in the whole series, and he delivers it like he's telling you the alternator is bad on your Subaru Outback. Like, well, what you got here? Yeah, you got a Thunder Axe. Shoot. Sorry about that. It's gonna repel a Lightning Man. I don't know if that's what you're looking for. We can suss it out.
You make fun, but I'm not sure you can get anything cooler than this. Like, these men in real life ran into an endgame weapon quest, and whether he delivers it badly or not, like, that's amazing.
No, I'm saying it rules so much that it deserves the best they can offer, and they gave it to the worst who's ever been on the show.
I don't know if we could have handled it if they gave this to Stinky Pete or whoever.
Johnny Ginseng would have they would have done it in a thunderstorm for starters. Just like, again, 101 right here. Do it in the pouring rain. You'd have to find him like in the dark.
He would have died 2/3 into the sentence. He would have been like, he wouldn't have been able to finish it. And then, started foaming, and then just a Bigfoot hand would rip out of his mouth, pull him into the Bigfoot dimension.
Now, I do think as Buck gets more and more, again, I keep crediting all of these structure changes to Buck because this is under his regime, right? I suspect that his deal is scripting stuff out a lot more carefully because he likes a lot more lore and a lot more. I think you're going to run into this because it is one thing to have a witness stand up there and say, well, yeah, I was, cooking a possum over a campfire by the lake, and I saw something shape in the distance dive into the water. I ain't never been so scared. Versus this, which is a bunch of lines, a bunch of back and forth, and it's not like they can't improvise it because it's all of this really detailed lore. Like, they cut to a grainy old photo of the Indians using the thunder axe, which is just a stick tied to a stone. You literally could not kill a skunk with it. And but they cut to this. They cut to the photos of this family that inherited it. We'll get into that, but there's all these steps, and it's all carefully scripted out. It's by far the most detailed and scripted out bit they've ever done, right?
Yes.
I think so.
I think it could have used another pass, maybe a sensitivity pass, because he does say they inherited it. What he actually says is the Six Nations handed it down to the settlers who came in the area before they sailed away to the Undying Lands, never to be seen again. He says the Indians left the settlers a blessing and a curse, a blessing of protection if they have the thunder axe, a curse if the lightning man gets a hold of it. I'm pretty sure they would have, if they had the chance, they would have just left the curse. Like, that's, we leave you with our lore and weaponry, noble white people, and retreat to our natural homes, which is every part of the country you don't like.
Okay, and spoiler, the next 2 episodes after this are going to get real problematic. For just foreshadowing, because they're going to discover that everyone on the team has Native American blood, and they are going to put on war paint to fight off the creature. But that's a future episode. That does not happen today. I'm saying, if you think what they talk about here is problematic, and again, please remember, this was 2016. This was so long ago, like the era of sensitivity, this kind of thing, a totally different time.
So immediately after delivering the line that this is both, that Indians left us both a protection and a curse, we immediately smash cut to Huckleberry saying, "This thunder axe is a blessing and a curse." I love that. He's been the exposition guy for some time now, but it's gotten so bad that they'll cut from a sentence straight to Huckleberry yelling that same sentence.
The same sentence.
Just
I had that in my notes.
You've said it before. He's transitioned to hype man.
He is. He's the hype man. He's getting them there.
Lil Jon.
He does add something. He adds it's that the axe is the only thing that can be used against the Lightning Man. And, in his words, if the Lightning Man gets it, there's no stopping him. So, it's the apocalypse. We now have world-ending stakes in this show, in the Mountain Monster show about hillbillies finding Bigfoot. Now they're the only people who can save the fucking world.
But nothing can stop the Lightning Man anyway.
There is one thing. And
there's this axe.
It's awful cute. What can stop him? We'll get
all
there.
Right. It's Jeff's piss.
When it comes time to, because again, a lot of the listeners do not watch the show. So when we're talking about a world-ending weapon, that if the Lightning Man, who is a Bigfoot, who looks like a skunk, black with white fur down his back that goes right to his butt crack, which would be a problem for him, this weapon in his hand, he will, like, no stopping him there, implying he would take over the world. You may be picturing a very ornate, like what was the axe from Infinity War that the Infinity War stole from this, the Thunderbreaker or something like that, Stormbreaker, whatever.
It's Stormbreaker.
You may be picturing something like that. What you should be picturing is a child-sized axe from a gift shop that would not successfully sell it because it would not be a good enough souvenir in the Southwest to sell to even the most racist of visitor. This is a plain stone literally tied to a wooden, like, pole, a little stick that you hold in. So the idea of a Bigfoot with this little child's axe in its hand taking over the whole world, not as imposing probably as they were hoping.
I would like to say we're being very generous calling it an axe, because it is a round rock. It is not sharpened or shaped in any way except for where it fits into the handle. The tip of it is just river-worn smooth. You could not use it as an axe.
It would hurt. If you hit a person with it, it would hurt.
Much like hitting them with any rock would.
Sure.
It's a rock tied to a stick.
It would break instantly. You'd kill one person with it, and then you'd have a broken stick.
I don't think you could kill a person with it because it's just the stone's just held on with the tension of a leather wrapping. It would fly off as soon as you made impact.
Yeah, you couldn't swing it full power.
It would draw blood.
It's not the blunt damage; it's that it summons lightning bolts when you swing.
Right.
So,
which again, very, very funny. But see, here's the thing, because in the first episode, there was no mention at all of the lightning man having the power of lightning.
They don't even get there yet.
All they said was his friends make a loud noise by banging on trees, and then he jumps out and then punches you and then runs away.
It socks you in the back of the head.
So it's like implying that he was called the lightning man because he was very fast. He could move quicker than you could see. So this is all new.
Well, they did fuck up later in that episode and started giving him electrical powers. So then but not like shooting lightning. He could only short out your like lights and things
Your
when they were
flashlight.
nearby.
You can make your
Flashlight
flashlight
That's the
stop
last
working.
thing they said. They'll continue to fuck this up in the best possible direction. But for right now, Shannon explains that in the early 1900s, the axe was given to the Sutter family, whose father took it apart and gave one piece to each of his sons to hide. I guess it was boring back then and they needed shit to do. Shannon explains that a spell was put on the Thunderblade by the Indians. And the spell goes like this: though you may seek, it will never be found until it's pulled by a human from the ground. I have to assume it didn't rhyme in the original language.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Because it was the natives that came up with this spell, right? But
Yeah.
maybe they put it into English because they were handing it off to the settlers.
And they
saying,
made
"Hey,
it rhyme because
as we
they were
gift
idiots.
you our country because we like
Yes.
you so much, as we willingly give you, and we leave you this axe because the lightning man may attack. So this will protect you because we want you to be safe."
That's God bless them. I hope wherever they are, they're doing well out in the lands beyond. So this means, okay, he says they put a spell on it so that he could never touch it until humans removed it from the ground. So that means that everything was perfectly fine and operating as intended until Buck showed up and dug
Yes.
it up and just fucked everything up. Buck directly causes the apocalypse in this scenario. This is not acknowledged in the show, but very plain to see as soon as you say that. It's like, oh, I didn't stumble into these events unfolding. I ruined, like, the safety net that was here to protect humanity. So, like, honestly, going on this quest to stop it, it's the least you can fucking do.
So we could follow the chain of custody of this knowledge and discover we have a pretty short list of suspects on who the Bigfoot is, because clearly a Bigfoot intended Buck to dig this up because he could not do it with his own Bigfoot hands. So someone who gave this knowledge to Bigfoot in that chain of custody, there's Sasquatch.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, keep that in mind as we go through the show. It could have been Shannon. It could have been that guy in the garage.
It
Could be Buck.
It could have been like an Indian child bride madly in love, as they are with handsome Bigfeet. Handsome.
That does make sense.
Another way to look at it is that in the truck, Jeff said, well, if it was just right there, 1 inch, 1 millimeter under the dirt, I don't know why the lightning man didn't just dig it up. And so to counter that, Buck has the witness say, well, there was a magic spell. The
Yeah,
Bigfoot
a wizard.
couldn't get to
a wizard did it, Jeff.
But,
Shut up.
but now, of course, you're in danger because now that it has been unearthed, now that has broken the protection spell. So in trying to write an improv that countered Jeff rather, Buck accidentally blamed himself for the apocalypse. So really, checkmate Jeff.
Yeah.
He just has to give you enough rope to hang yourself. That's the best strategy. The best revenge is living well and waiting for you to die. Is Jeff's strategy right here.
I would say Buck kind of blew it because he's barely been leading the team for a week and he's already doomed the entire world. Not only didn't catch a Bigfoot, but gave the Bigfoot access to limitless power. I think it's hard to blow it harder.
Gonna be hard to report that one to Trapper. Gonna report back on your very first
some bad
progress
news, Trapper.
report. You checking in with me? How'd the first week go? Some good and bad. Good and bad.
First, how are you feeling, Trapper? Before I get into that, how are you doing?
All right, so
I might have fucked up, Trapper.
So Shannon explains if the Lightning Man gets a hold of this, it's all over. So you have to race them now to the other two pieces of the axe. So two things just happened for the very first time. This is the first time the Ames has been responsible for something really high stakes, like saving the world. Because like a few episodes ago, like 5 or 6 episodes ago, the stakes were golden delicious apples. And now it's the world. And 2, they have put themselves, a bunch of diabetic hillbillies, just really testing the stress limits of a forest golf cart in a foot race against the fastest Bigfoot who has ever lived. Against faster than light.
With 7 other supernatural big feet.
Not to mention 7 other supernatural big feet.
It's easy to forget about the Thunder Brothers.
As the show often does.
As the show will forget about them for 90% of this episode because they never really think of how to incorporate a gang of big feet into a plot.
It's beyond them. Utterly beyond them.
Which I think even if you gave Aaron Sorkin that script and said, hey, I need you to structure one of your films around 8 big feet, I think he would say, no, that's a hat on a hat. 1 Bigfoot, maybe 2, but there's no way to work a gang into a plot. It just doesn't make any sense.
I could write you. It's just, West Side Story is the archetype. It's right there waiting for you. It's exactly you just fill it out with big feet. So I love this moment where this cascade of terrible things have happened. We're like, oh, it was actually you that started the apocalypse. Ah, fuck. Now you have to go race these Bigfoot to go prevent the apocalypse. Ah, fuck. Oh, they're all the fastest Bigfoot who have ever lived. At this moment, the show could just cut to black like The Sopranos, and that would be you could fulfill the ending to the series, the whole series, just yourself, and be like, yep, I know what happened there. There's even one more complication. To thwart the Lightning Man, they have to make him touch the axe, but not give it to him. Just a little game of keep away.
Yes.
And that way the spell reactivates and he can't find it again. But it sounds ridiculous, but hold on. They just set, for maybe the first time ever, they set an achievable win condition for their team.
Amazing.
Incredible. Now, they have improvised achievable win conditions at the last possible moment very poorly. They've improvised well, I found this carbonated blood, and that means he's dead. He fucking died somewhere.
Right.
Off camera. Can you look at him? Nope. But this way, they actually said, at the start of the show, if we can do this one thing, which is real simple, Bigfoot touches it, take it away real quick, then we win. Everything's fine. You don't have to see Bigfoot. Everything's actually fine. They invented a win condition they can achieve for the first time ever. And again, competence is kind of rearing its ugly head a little bit there. And it takes a little bit of the magic out of the show, not seeing them improvise how they didn't fuck this up so completely at the end. Well, we might have scared him. When Jeff peed, he didn't seem to like that smell very much. He could be gone.
He'll never come back.
So I'll miss that, but it in true fashion, every success that they have opens up the door for many fuck-ups, for several fuck-ups. And I have faith in that as we move forward.
There's a moment I love here, speaking of failed competency, where Buck knows the structure of a treasure hunt. He knows that the guy telling them about the treasure can't just tell them where it is. So Buck says, I wrote down the quote, "Can you give us the general vicinity of where to find the remaining pieces?" Which is not how you would ask someone, where do I find the treasure?
Yeah, where is it? Do you just have it? Can you give it to me? And Shannon says, yes, I will point you to the general vicinity of the other pieces of the Thunder Axe.
Sure.
And he says,
that's a great way to put that.
And then I shall leave you clues. Because he's hillbilly Bigfoot Jigsaw. He wrote them down.
I don't know how he knew. I don't know how he knew he would be meeting with the specific Bigfoot hunters who unearthed the Thunder Axe, but he had these clues written down.
And further,
in a way that
I know what you're thinking. How did he get these clues, right? Luckily, sure. Huckleberry cuts in to say, somehow Shannon got a hold of these clues.
Yes.
It's all the explanation you'll ever get.
It's so good. That's so good.
All right, so clue number 1 is they bang the trees and thunder comes, but the Thunder Boys should bang the drum. So these were ostensibly these clues were handed down, I guess, as never said, from the Sutter family, from this turn of the century lumberjack Bigfoot fighters. Did they really say the Thunder Boys? It seems a bit cute terminology. Those Thunder Boys. Those Thunder Boys out there rampaging, romping and frolicking.
And also Buck is going to smile into the camera and do his interview saying, well, looks like we've got ourselves a good old-fashioned treasure hunt. The Ames team versus the Lightning Man. Who can find the Thunder Axe first? It's like, you're not on a reality show to win a trip to Hawaii. This is the end of humanity. Yeah. You should be calling the National Guard saying we need to sweep every square foot of this area to get these items.
You should be calling your mom and telling her, like, I love you and I'm sorry. I fucked it up and I ended the world.
As you always said I would.
That's the prophecy said. Shannon says, there's a further complication. The first place you go to, just a heads up, you guys, there's a crazy guy who lives there.
The stakes just keep getting higher.
And there's a weird guy.
But not in... I guess when I first heard this, I knew he was trouble. But I feel like in a normal situation, you'd recruit the crazy guy. They're like, careful, there's a crazy guy. And you're like, okay, now our ragtag team is going to have a wild card.
Yeah, but or he knows the real secret of the Bigfoot magic or something in his madness. Something. Anyway, Shannon says, and they call him Skunky Tom.
And a whole bunch of our listeners have pointed at their radios that they're listening to this on their radios. The whole family gathers around the living room and they're saying Skunky Tom.
Uh-huh.
The Lightning Man is black with a white stripe down his back. Like he has skunk markings. This is finally the werewolf situation we wanted. They're going to find out that the crazy old hermit transforms into the Lightning Man when he's near electricity or whatever, and that's going to be your twist. No. And in fact, as far as I can tell, it did not occur to them that this guy being named Skunky Tom and their monster looking like a skunk is weird. That those two things would.
Something about Skunky Tom just put it too far for me. And I was like, if a child said these things, it'd kind of be cute, a fun game of imagination. But for adults to say these things out loud, as if they expected anyone to believe them, as if like this is a real reality show. It's so far beyond the scope of stupid that like I couldn't find a real reference for it. And I'm an American. Our president is Donald Trump, like the dumb one from TV. And I'm like, I can't comprehend stupid like this. I don't know.
So like, hold on. If Skunky Tom is Werefoot, is it like a Beauty and the Beast situation? Like all of the just things in his apartment become the Thunder Brothers in his little cabin? Like this can of beans and my piss bottle, this becomes like a Thunder Brother? That's pretty magical. We might have to write that. We're sitting here
imagining a better version of it. It's not going to come up at all. Now, again, in the film, Skunky Tom becomes Ebony Maw, the henchman of Thanos, who is like appears and then disrupts the gang when they're just about to get one of the stones. But
fuck, I know this started as a bit, but it's really working. All right. So the next day, that's right, we're breaking format yet again. It's a 2-part episode. We've already built a trap we haven't used in the first part. So it would be fucking ridiculous to build another trap in the next part of the episode. There's no way that will ever happen. Could you imagine? A second trap? No. Instead, they hop in the forest golf cart and all 6 hillbillies go looking for the scattered pieces of Bigfoot's legendary Thunder Axe. I love saying, I'll never get tired of saying that. They split up. Buck, Willie, and Jeff are going to search for the axe while Huckleberry and Wild Bill are on Skunky Tom watch.
They have weapons too. They presumably to kill this man on his own Skunky property. Tom.
Yes.
Wild Bill climbs into a tree from a sniper position so he can snipe Skunky Tom if he arrives
with a shotgun.
With a shotgun, yeah.
So out in the search, Willie spots some old oil barrels, and they all decide, yep, that's it. They bang on them and shake it around, and Buck says, something's in there. It's a dead animal.
No sacred artifacts. in the old barrels.
The next one has nothing. The final one just has leaves in it. And I want to paint the picture. The oil barrels, they're not from the 1900s. They're from like oldest tops I'll give it is like the 70s. Like tops. And even then, I think probably 90s looking at them.
They're not rusted through. These things don't last at the, they're fairly recent.
Yeah, they're certainly not turn of the century. It's just, man.
They're 40-pound oil drums. It'd be a bad place to hide your secret treasure next to a thing that a child could roll down a hill.
But fitting for hillbillies, for hillbilly Bigfoot hunters.
Sure.
God, just man, they set a simple like child's rhyming couplet as the bar for them to solve, and it turns out they're outmatched.
Because in the film, this is where the Guardians of the Galaxy go to nowhere to try to get the Reality Stone.
Right.
Uh-huh. Okay, that works too. Back on Skunky Tom watch, Huckleberry tells us, Skunky Tom knows these woods like you know your living room. The only way we're gonna see him is just to watch little movements. Fucking, is there Skunky Tom lore? How do you...
He just suddenly knows
He's acting like he knows Skunky Tom, and then also implies that he thinks they're there to hunt Skunky Tom.
Yes.
And that they will lose. He attributes like predator powers to Skunky Tom, and I do believe that he's a predator, just not the kind with cloaking technology. It's just, why do you know Skunky Tom lore? Why is he faster than the eye can see? What? They struggle so hard for that second team to like do anything. Now that the pincer movement is kind of off the table, they still have the like impulse to go split up. We must split up, but then they only have one mission. They're like, you watch out for the crazy guy, I guess.
What if instead of grouchy and crazy, he was like a stealth monster? Like he was one with the woods. That's better, right?
You guys go start baking all the apples into apple pies in case, just so they don't go to waste. Well,
because again, if you remember The Witness, Shannon was just very like lighthearted. Like, there's a goofy guy there named Skunky Tom.
Right.
You got to watch out for him. He was not like, no, Skunky Tom will emerge from the darkness like a shadow. You will not see him coming. You will not hear him coming. You will just see your men vanish into the night one by one at Skunky Tom's hands.
John Wick, based on him.
Cuts his throat from off camera.
Yeah, that's where doesn't even get to finish a sentence.
So Buck's team finds another drum. Yes, that's right. It's the same idea they had before, but bigger. It's another oil drum. And once again, it's not something from 1908. It's from maybe the 1950s, probably even earlier than that. They're just setting up failure after failure.
It's a real big drum for a real big foot.
Yes.
That dumb fucking asshole said that.
Buck's exact phrase. A real big drum, and halfway through the sentence is thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to finish this? For a real big foot.
They're in a race for the fate of the world.
I always just imagine him turning to Colt Straub and they're like, just cut that. Just cut that.
Yeah.
And it's Colt.
No. Look, for the first time ever, can we do a second take? It's just like, no. It pollutes the art.
Jeff says that's the biggest damn oil drum I ever saw. Which again is stupid and infantile, but not like the other. Not like a real big foot.
But you've seen bigger than that. Like, it's pretty big, but it's like one story.
It's like 10 feet tall. You see these everywhere in oil country.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's a real mediocre
ladder on the side
you
of it.
You see far bigger than this all over the place. Just
all over.
That's just how they store oil.
They jump on it to make thunder, which is weird. Like, or maybe it's kind of smart because then they'll summon the Thunder Brothers directly to the magic artifact they're looking for, or Skunky Tom, whoever. I don't know.
They pretty much do. So they do. Like, it's not ever said in the show, but they do summon Skunky Tom like that. That's his drum. That's how you respond. The Skunky Tom alert. So Buck opens the lid and there's the Indian lightning bolt again, which is adorable every time. They pull out a pipe welded shut, but if you shake it, it rattles. And I'll let Wild Bill's reaction sell it. Buck radios him to say, "We found a pipe," and Wild Bill goes, "Oh, pipe!"
That's the...
It's the box truck all over again.
You actually undersold his reaction.
I can't.
Yeah,
I physically can't make my voice do what he did.
If we can capture that sound clip, please insert it because it's so great.
We're not exactly sure what it is yet. It's in a pipe.
It just you found a piece of shit out there. What piece of shit? And suddenly there's a gunshot. Well, who was supposed to be on Skunky Tom watch? You had one job.
You got too excited about pipes.
You had one job. It was a make-believe job. It was like I'm handing you the controller that's not plugged in. It was like you hold the eggshells while mom makes the cake, and she turns around and finds you choking on the eggshells. Like you fucked it up so bad. But Skunky Tom, I love him. Skunky Tom, whatever you're picturing and however you're picturing it going, like some hillbilly coming out there, he comes sprinting in, mute and furious from the forest, shirtless, ripped to shit. Yes. His huge Tarzan hair flowing behind him as he sprints after them silently with a shotgun in both hands. Like, this is a good horror movie character. He doesn't want anything from you except for you to die. And then they immediately get it. They start screaming, "Run! It's Skunky Tom!"
Now, a couple of things. One, they were never given a photo of Skunky Tom. Skunky Tom is not the only man in that region who could conceivably be running after them after they saw them climbing over his oil equipment or somebody's oil equipment. So it actually could be a lot of people.
But you just know when he's coming after you. Well, we can't get it through the medium of television, but the distinct skunk smell hits you first. And that's when you know to run. You run before you see him.
As a viewer, you're like so delighted because it's like, oh my God, this guy's going to be turning up at everything they do from here on out. No, we're not going to see him again.
Right. That's what my thought was. Like, I was like, this is like Conor McGregor in the new Roadhouse, where he's just like an agent of chaos that you need to show up when something's going too well. Then you just look off camera and go, "Run! It's Skunky Tom again!" You just need somebody to fuck it up. Anyway, so they all flee in mute panic, and we cut back to Buck recapping. We're standing there looking at this pipe we found. Then a shot rang out. Crazy looking dude comes running in at us. That's Skunky Tom. We got to get out of here. Now, as we've established, this is all done live. The testimonials, many times it's established these are done live. So Buck was waddling away from that mute maniac and paused to give this little update about Skunky Tom killing him as Skunky Tom is killing him. And I assume escaped when Skunky Tom killed and mounted the cameraman.
Also, when they drive away in the golf cart to escape Skunky Tom, we get a shot of the golf cart driving away.
Meaning and leaving.
They left Zach the cameraman behind to be molested by Skunky Tom.
You just see Zach's face back there just dropping. It's like, you said it was the last time.
I loved Wild Bill here because as they're fleeing from the single man, he says, "Get some, yeah!" Which is just an awesome thing to say when you're fleeing for your life.
Yeah, you are running for your life. There's 8 of you. You all have guns.
5 of you. Yeah, you're all armed, and there's 1 of him, but whatever.
Then they do the funniest thing they could do. They drive. We follow them as they drive about 40 feet away and stop and say, "That's good enough. We're safe." And Wild Bill goes, "Safe zone, yeah!"
Even though, for all they know, Skunky Tom has his own golf cart or motorcycle or dirt bike or something.
Sure.
And could be pursuing them at that same speed.
Or could, unlike them, find it not like life-threatening to run 40 feet. He could have ran 40 more feet and just killed. Or maybe he could aim his gun 40 feet down road and shoot you. Like,
he has a lot of options. Skunky Tom has a lot of options in this situation. It
would be hard to miss.
This is a Skunky Tom free safe zone, they've all determined. And so they use this to group up to saw the end of that pipe off because it was welded shut. And now they have the handle of the legendary Thunder Axe. And now they only need the lashing to complete this weapon that will stop a whole gang of mystical weather Bigfeet from destroying the whole world in like a lightning storm or something. And in his new role as leader, Buck gives the crew their inspirational speech for this moment. He says, "Boys, That's going to be on you. I have to head back to work for a day.
The fate of the world.
Laughed so hard that I think I injured myself.
He still has a day job?
He is going to leave the hunt for the third of 3 pieces. Again, they've got the head, they've got the handle. The lashing's the final part to fully assemble the axe that can end the universe. I'm going to delegate that to you guys. I have to go back to Sephora and work the makeup counter at the mall. And I'm
That
just
bitch?
imagining...
Stephanie will not give me the day off for this. I told her what's at stake.
I'm just imagining him there, like putting blush on a customer and trying to show how to blend it into the foundation. And then on the TV in the corner, there's like the news of New York has been flattened by the lightning man. And then having to be like, I told you, he's got the thunder axe now. There's no stopping him.
Yeah, we heard it before. I just like that he still has to he's the leader of the crew now. He's the leader of the show in its 4th season, and he still has to work at the mall or whatever. It's amazing. I gotta pause the apocalypse. I gotta go to work. All right, so we cut to Wild Bill and Willie's Crackhead Trap Shack. Remember, they don't have to build anything. They already had the steel octagon trap. One like pillar for each Bigfoot. It was cute. It was like it turned out to look like a grandma craft teepee. But we did it. It's done. So we don't need to use another trap. Willie even says at the time, we never even got to use it. So of course we're building another trap. Or more accurately, a wing to this trap.
Yeah, Willie a little mini trap.
Huckleberry calls it a little bonus trap.
It's a trap DLC.
Like he pre-ordered a little Willie trap, and this is what he got. It's what he throws in. It's so what Willie builds is it's a house for gnomes. It's a gnome house. It's fucking adorable. It's so goofy. It's a little hutch made out of a log in front of the trap, and the idea is one of the most ridiculous things he's ever said, and he looked stone-faced into a camera once and said, Mothman can't teleport through electricity. Yeah. This is more ridiculous. He says, the idea is that it's wide enough for the Lightning Man's hand to get through. Remember, the Lightning Man's an invincible Bigfoot who will destroy the world. It's just wide enough for him to reach into, and he boops it with his fingers, and then it zips back away into the grandma teepee. And that's it. That's the end of the statement, because the grandma teepee is an indestructible safe which guards the fate of humanity itself. And I want you to picture 8 furious, superpowered lightning and thunder big feet just hammering on that teepee from all sides and imagining how long it would hold up to that.
To get a secret artifact they've been hunting for 100 years.
They would just...
if you had regular strength and average determination, any creature with the power of a 9-year-old and the mind of an ape has a pretty good shot of getting this invincible artifact.
8 big feet around that little teepee. It's like that meme of like the 7 black guys standing behind a little white girl. It's just like this does not stand a chance. It's visual shorthand for
the teepee's gonna get fucked.
And to give you an idea, like when this got translated to the film, this was a scene where Doctor Strange used a time stone to visualize all of the millions of outcomes.
Right.
And he finally came up with this. He's like, there's one timeline where we succeed, and it requires doing this incredibly convoluted series of steps. It involves letting Thanos have the gauntlet, do the snap, and then we have to go back. So I feel like in both cases, they have to come up with an overcomplicated means of doing it. You can see how the 2 creative teams handled it. I actually think Mountain Monsters is more straightforward.
Yeah.
They actually have to give the bad guy the thing and let him, briefly take hold of his power and take
the same.
This started out so stupid, and I'm 100% on board. 100%. So we're on the hunt for the next piece, the last piece, and Jeff reads the riddle here. He says, "The rain it falls, and then it pools, and hides away the leather clue." That's not even a slant rhyme.
It's And it's not a leather clue they're finding. They're finding the leather strap for the axe. They're not finding
a leather clue doesn't exist. That's a fucking crazy thing to say. It hides away the leather clue. Okay. So
nothing rhymes with leather. It has to do with thunder.
I know. I know exactly. We'll rhyme the clue part with what? With pool. With pool. Pool.
And what ensues here is, I know I used the word delightful and spectacular a lot on this podcast. I don't have a great vocabulary to describe what these men managed to do. Because one of them, I assume, who do you think wrote these riddles? Buck?
It's got to be somebody on the team. And I will not say production, because production would presumably have more training in life than this.
As they try to figure out, well, what kind of a thing in nature has like water in it? Like where do you find a pool in the real world? And they legitimately are going to act like, well, I don't know. Like you're talking about some sort of an indentation in the dirt and then there's water in it. Like, and they actually run across like a little hole and one of them like pokes at it with the stick. Like, no, there's no water in there.
I think that theory is stupid. We just proved it wrong.
I'm glad you said that, because in my notes just have question mark, like how describe this on podcast. They suddenly forget what ponds are for just a moment. They're just like, could this be water? No, it's not. It's just air.
They forget what water is, what gravity is, what mountains are, what land is, what down
Clues?
is. They forget what down is. Because it says it runs down, and they're like, well, where would water run? And they start walking like sideways, and like they're on a hill.
And I worry that the listeners who didn't watch the episode think we're making this up or we're screwing around. They do not say, okay, around this area, we got a pond, we got a creek, the river, the lake is 3 miles that way. We're going to start here. No, they act like they don't know what a pond is. They act like they don't know, like, the concept of, like, well, if there was some sort of an indentation in the ground, would the water, like, gather there? Like, I cannot overstate. We're doing it less stupid than they did.
It's like, it's clumsily worded, but this is not a riddle. This is a description. It's just saying it's in the pond in a real clumsy way. And they're like, well, what do we do? You look in the pond. And sure enough, they eventually find the pond, the only pond that's there. This is like when you turn down the puzzle difficulty in video games and it starts giving you real patronizing clues. You're like, oh, maybe I should look for a sun-shaped piece to go here. I know. Fuck, I'm turning that back up. Like, I can't stand this.
I think they realized, too, that this place, the outside of Pennsylvania, might have more than one pond. So when they get to the pond, they start looking around at the trees. And I think it's Willie who says, them poplar trees are 80, 90 years old. That put this exactly at the right time for this to be the pond where they hid things. Meaning, in that logic, that when they hid the thing in the pond, they also planted those trees like on the same day. I don't know why they did that.
Within a few years, I don't know. He's trying to. We miss Trapper so bad in this show. Yeah. Trapper's unique ability to do outdoorsy detective improv, like he was a 1 in a million talent.
They decided they needed to say this is 100-year-old pond, but there's no way to do that. But they tried anyway. I don't know.
You could have looked on a map and been, we can't get into this. Willie says, well, there's only one way to find out if that is the right pond. We got to get in that hole water. Got to find a better way to rephrase that one.
Not how I would have put it. Willie does a backflip into the water, which is pretty fucking sweet. Yeah.
Willie says he and Wild Bill are the athletic ones on the team, and against all odds, he's right. Like, it's relative, but he's right. And I cannot stress enough, if you haven't watched this show, just how filthy and horrible this water is. They jump in and start looking. They bring up just a bunch of diseased, rusty garbage, a bucket, a trash can lid, a like old printer,
I think it was a fax machine,
like a fucking fax machine or something. They're just like swimming around in it. Like this, I laughed at this, but this is like, if you're a hillbilly out there using what you got, this is a great way to guard treasure. Like, you hide it where the Legionnaire's disease is, because you're not like, it's a poison swamp from Elden Ring. It's just like, you'd have to be immune to Giardia to get in there and get this shit out. And I get Wild Bill surely is. We found the one guy who's destined to be immune to the unique blend of parasites in this. And so they swim over underneath the dock to just really get all the parasites. And they dig up an ammo box under there. And this is so nitpicky, but that's obviously not a turn of the century or earlier ammo box. I don't know ammo boxes. It looks like a newer era, but like the writing on it and the paint and the white that fades, it's crisp, clear, perfectly there. It's been in this horrible pond for 100 years. No, there's nothing on it. There's no growth on it.
It's
there's
a
no
bad
rust.
prop.
It's like, it's nothing.
They pull a Stanley thermos out, though, that actually could have been non-anachronistic.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, those have always looked the same.
That's a 1913 Stanley thermos, according to Google.
Oh, okay. They actually found the what? Why did you do? It's so frustrating.
Sometimes I like to fact check my mountain monsters.
No, not you. Why the show? Why did you do this one thing? Why did you do the thermos inside the box and not the box? Like, why go all out?
Okay. When they pull that out of the ammo box, so it's an ammo box with a thermos inside of it, which again kind of makes sense because you assume the thermos would be watertight because that's what it's water stuff coming out of it. And they ADR in a line of Jeff saying, "Be careful, guys, that is 100 years old."
Yes.
So somebody on the team got that thermos, bought it off eBay or something, or had it. It was a grandpa's, maybe.
Maybe.
You know, from when he worked construction, like, hey, this is 100 years old, use this. And then was afraid that it wasn't getting acknowledged because those thermoses do still look like that.
Yeah, they still look
and
the
so
same.
They had them dub in lines like, hey, that is an authentic 100-year-old thermos.
This is the one piece of the show we actually put effort in. Somebody please pay attention to it. We're gonna ADR the first thing in history. We had to look up what that meant.
And I know that it was incredibly dangerous, by the way, to have them, these guys are not stunt performers, to have them dive into this water that is literally full of sharp junk. But that was the sacrifice that exactly at this point Natasha Romanoff had to make when she dove off the cliff to get the Soul Stone from Red Skull.
Mm-hmm. It works every time.
Actually, less dangerous than what they did.
If this had been a Cracked article back in the day, this would have had 12 million views. Back in the day when we did that. Oh, shit. So now they have the lashing, the accursed Bigfoot string. They're ready for the big showdown. So guess who shows up? It's the guy whose job this used to be, jumping in the embarrassing water, who now has to work today. It's good to be the king. He shows up rolling up solo in the golf cart and is like, hey, how many diseases did you guys get? More than me? More than usual? Good. So
I still can't believe he didn't get a work excuse for the end of the world. It's crazy.
He didn't have any PTO to use, and he couldn't take the hit on that paycheck. Like, it just. So now they need to test the trap, and to do that, they have Huckleberry go in there. Again, this used to be Buck's job. It's nice to see him exercising his power. And Willie demonstrates his fucking Looney Tunes Rube Goldberg anti-Bigfoot device, and the axe zips away, and the
I think it's a yoink.
It's a yoink. You're right. It's more a yoink than a zip. Let's get it right. And the trapdoor swings closed on Huckleberry, who I guess at this point, well, like, the theory is that somebody is going to stay inside this trap now and guard it. That is going to get absolutely ripped apart by 8 Bigfeets. So I was wrong earlier. In this context.
When they demonstrate it and it pulls, they're using like just a tool, like an axe out of their toolbox to represent what it will do with the axe once they assemble it. And it drags it in, it just leaves it on the floor. It doesn't drag it like into a locked box. It leaves it on the dirt floor of their cage. The cage, which we've mentioned in the previous episode, has huge gaps in the side.
Yeah.
Where even a man could reach in and grab the thing off the ground without damaging the trap at all. The man with a stick could, like, just poke it over toward the edge, and he gets to reach down and grab it.
Bigfoot can build fire
design.
and throw trees, but he can't work 2-foot stick to enhance his reach.
It was, as Willie helpfully says, and now you see it's secured to the ground. That's a real fancy way of saying it's on the ground. It's on the ground.
A little weight on it. I think they should have probably maybe put the axe on a plane that like never lands at the same airport twice. I don't know. I just feel like at this point they should explain to someone what the deal is, because as far as I can tell, these 5 men have never done anything right.
And the danger increases as they assemble more and more of the weapon. Like, they're getting the stones together. Like, there is, the whole point is that as we get this together, at any moment it could attack and have all of the parts, because they believe incorrectly at this point that they have the whole thing. Now they just have to assemble it, and
yeah, they go into like a Resident Evil style inventory puzzle as they just struggle to rotate the pieces into trying to fit, but clearly they're the wrong pieces, and they're like, oh, no, that doesn't work.
But because they have the actual picture of the Thunder Axe. It's not just some picture of a caveman axe that they got. It's the actual Thunder Axe, so they can follow along and get the lashing exactly right. And it turns out there was another clue hidden in the thermos. Jeff real clumsily bashes it open, and he finds the next clue, and it says, the missing piece of the axe ye shall find if you seek in the cabin by the creek. And have you noticed that each of these riddles gets more obvious each time? Right, they really ran out of juice.
It's like they learned that this was too hard for them each previous time, because now the last one it was saying like it's in the pond. It was just wording it clumsily, right. And now it's literally saying it's in the cabin by the creek.
Go to the cabin.
That's not a riddle. It's barely a sentence.
And this little twist here where they thought they had it in the film, when the team went to go to retrieve the space stone, and then the trickster god Loki runs off with it, and they're forced to switch plans and then go back in time and retrieve another copy of it. That's how that was translated into the $400 million production they based off of this story.
So in that context, the trickster god would be Jeff's incompetence?
Yes.
Okay. I'm following. I got it.
Buck seems actually mad about this. He says, what is this, some sort of wild goose chase as a joke? Like some 100-year-old prank by, I guess, the ancient brothers or the ancient Bigfeet? I don't know.
It'd be pretty funny. It was way boring back then. I'd do it.
They needed stuff to do.
So now we've sort of segued into the night hunt, because the sun is going down during all of this, and they're still not done. So now they have to separate again. Huckleberry, Willie, and Jeff go to find the cabin, while Buck and Wild Bill get in the trap and lock the door, for some reason? Can somebody explain what the thinking was there?
Yes, because they have the rest of the pieces, and they cannot have the Lightning Man come and take it while they send the rest of the team to get the remaining piece.
I forgot it's supposed to be invincible and not just knocked aside like Tinker Toys.
Now, is there a toilet in there? No. Is there food or water in the trap with them? No. Are they going to be in there for maybe days? We don't know. It's locked
with like gnashing hands and teeth, like reaching in at them. They're just gonna wait it out.
Having to stand in the very center, just outside, because Willie engineered it to be just outside Bigfoot grasping range. So Willie's team go and find the cabin by the creek. Willie says, "That's the cabin by the creek," and Jeff says, "It's just like the riddle said. Ye shall find if ye seek in the cabin by the creek."
That's
the cabin, of course, does not look 100 years old. It's made of particle board.
Yeah, we touched on this in the original podcast, but for any new folks, they say the words like, "This cabin is 100 years old if it's a day." And then it cuts to an interior shot of the cabin. It has brand new, like, Home Depot particle board.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Like, you can almost see the stamp
Jeff's
marks.
line, I wrote down Jeff's line. He said, "This cabin's early architectural construction. This is definitely the cabin. The age shows it." Because that's one of the classic cabin architectural movements. As early is what they call it.
It is my understanding that the phrasing early architectural is referring to structures from 3,000 years ago. when they first were able to build things out of something other than mud that actually had more than one floor. That's what early architectural means. It does not mean 1908, but this is not from 1908. This is just a dumpy little tool shed.
You're thinking
put out
pre-war. It goes early, pre-war, Stone Age, prehistoric.
It was nice that they said
I'm kind of an architecture Bigfoot guy.
One of their final set pieces is in this showdown for the apocalypse in somebody's lawnmower shed. Just like, that's all we need. Just a lawnmower shed. We can do it.
That's
fine. The rest is theater of the mind, guys.
So this scene falls apart spectacularly. Because they find the firewood in the stove, and somebody says, "What the hell's that in there for?"
Huckleberry says that.
Yeah, the firewood in the firewood burning stove. And Jeff says, I wrote this quote down too. He says, "In the old days, they would use fire to illuminate the walls so they could see to get through the house." This is the dumbest fucking shit. Like, he's trying to sound smart by saying humans need light to see.
But he then says, well, they kind of improvised to, well, they could put little cracks in the stove.
Yep.
So when you lit a fire in there, it would display a message on the wall, which is 100% a Resident Evil or Silent Hill or whatever puzzle. And I thought, holy crap, they've rigged this stove to like display the riddle answer, like go to the whatever on the wall. I can't wait to see this. No, they didn't. I don't know why he pulled that out of his ass. They in no way were capable of doing that.
Even if it was just the Indiana Jones bit where the crack shines on like a wall and you go knock the wall down and there's the axe inside of it, that would even be like, I would be impressed with them, within context. But for them to bring that up and then just decide, oh no, that wasn't it. Like, oh, just no bad ideas, right, guys? Like,
it's so fucking crazy. Like, why do any of it? Huckleberry has a line where he says, "There'd definitely be a different light than this," because it occurs to him, we already have flashlights. We can already see the walls.
So you could shine it through the stove.
But we need the firelight in the stove. That's
because they didn't figure out, they must not have figured out what they were going to do. And it turns out what they do is they hide the puzzle inside a trick log, inside one of the logs in there, which they only realize as it's burning.
right.
Quick note.
How come that log's splitting like that?
Yeah.
Is what one of them says. Jeff says that.
Quick note, real good hiding place, third brother. Good job putting it in the flammable fuel source in the oven. Now, it is inside like a metal pipe, but remember, the piece itself is leather, so it does burn inside superheated metal. So the first person who came in there was like, oh, light a fire, just destroyed the world. The whole world.
Yeah. Because unless you are studying the fire very closely, you're not going to notice, well, that's weird. That one log's not burning quite right. I wonder if there's a treasure hidden inside that log. You would just notice in the ash the next day that there's like a pipe that's a piece of metal in there. That's weird. Throw that in the trash.
Metal, and you would open it up and there would be ashes and you'd be like, oh, I guess that was nothing.
I do think that would save the world, though, because then no one could assemble the Thunder Axe, and then Bigfoot could never get it.
Wait, you're right. They would accidentally, he's the best brother. He's the most ingenious brother. Which, why? We'll just destroy it then, if it's so dangerous.
Now, here is where Why Mountain Monsters is the best show ever made. Because if you pause the show right here with them saying, look, there's a log splitting funny, and they pull it out of the oven and the log splits apart, and there's a metal pipe in there, right? I think I don't know if it's got the symbol on it or whatever. And you think, okay, if you pause the show right here. So what do you think is going to happen next in this scene? None of you would get it right. Not one of you on earth.
I think you're wrong. I think if anybody was paying close attention to this show and what has happened in this show so far, they would find it perfectly foreshadowed that there is one seemingly useless, increasingly embarrassed member of the team whose ability, often like unintentionally ability to produce water of some kind, it could rapidly cool that pipe, which they need to grab and get out of there to save the world. So who is it? That's right. It's Jeff, who has pissed himself humiliatingly so many times, finally has his moment to shine his flashlight on Huckleberry as Huckleberry pisses on the pipe.
There are listeners who think I had already seen this episode when I did the joke during the viewer mail episode we did a couple weeks ago while Brockway was overseas doing his project for a private company. It was sanctioned by all the governments involved. Look, and they had asked, like, what would be the best redemption arc for Jeff? And I said, the only thing is if his ability to piss himself somehow saved the crew. And then I'm watching this and they're setting up, because what happens is they pull the pipe out. It's obviously incredibly hot. It's been in a fire. And then they hear the thunder, the Thunder Brothers coming, but they can't pick it up. It's too hot. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to be like, Jeff, instead of pissing your pants, piss on this pipe. Instead, it's Huckleberry. He's like, don't worry, guys, I'll piss on it. And then Jeff has to pick it up in his bare hand with Huckleberry's piss all over his hand in the hot pipe that's burning his hand, burning the piss into his hand, just permanently searing the piss into his palm.
He's got the little, like Indiana Jones, he's got the little lightning bolt arrow on his... It's going to come in handy. He's got to put it into his
smells
palm.
Like piss for the rest of his life.
And it's not the first time he has handled Huckleberry's piss-soaked pipe. Like
Jeff normally moves pretty slow, but when there's piss involved, he is Johnny on the spot.
I can't believe they took the piss moment from Jeff. That's just bad filmmaking or great Jeff spiting. Great Jeff spiting.
Yes. I feel like the piss moment is because anybody could pee on it. It takes a real sacrificial soul to grab the piss pipe. I think that's the hard part of the situation.
Realistically, you would need 40 gallons of liquid to cool the pipe in any meaningful.
That's why it had to be Huckleberry.
That's why it had to be Huckleberry.
That's a Huckleberry piss for sure.
Huckleberry. To piss on it for 25 straight minutes uninterrupted.
They're getting close to Huckleberry. They're not going. That's a false one.
I think we're underplaying the drama too, because one of them screams, "We need to get it cooled off. How are we going to cool it off?" And then it went to commercial. So you had to sit with that as if you watched this on TV.
How would they
or
cool
wherever
it
it
off?
had commercials?
Maybe with some kind of mitts, like near the oven, like some kind of like I don't know, piss. That's what it is.
I don't want to brag, but I wrote pee before the CGI Bigfoots had even left the screen. I was like, oh, they're gonna pee on that.
So they get out of there just in time, and because the Lightning Man leaps out of the trees, and we just see like a shaking tree. Buck says, like, the Lightning Man, he's here, and he's here to grab the axe. So things are dire. Lightning Man's there. He's presumably bashing on this poor little grandma teepee. He's gonna get in any second. Now, how are they going to separate the Lightning Man from the gang of Thunder Brothers in order to trick him and trap him? It's a good question. And good questions don't always have answers. That's a tough lesson you have to learn in life. Because we're not answering that. It's still treated the whole time. They had a gang of Bigfeet. It was the one different thing they had. Well, no, they had a lot of different, but they never did anything with it. They arrive, the B team arrives back at the trap, just finding, like, that should be the danger to the B team there. Is like, oh, but they have to get through Lightning Man's attacking Buck. They have to get past the Thunder Brothers to get to him. Nope. Face no difficulty, arrive just fine, open the pipe, get the final piece out and assemble it. Presumably while the Lightning Man is standing off screen tapping his foot impatiently. Because remember, he's here.
Yeah, and all 7 Thunder Brothers. Again, see, we're getting down to the final few minutes of this 2-part episode. The fact that there are 7 other Bigfeet, that really needs to start playing into the plot. It's like we're running out of time for that to come up as a relevant thing, as opposed to nothing, as opposed to just having been the Lightning Man by himself the whole time.
They were supposed to be chasing. That was the thunder. That was why they had to piss on the pipe and run, is, oh, the Thunder Brothers are here. And then the Thunder Brothers just hang out. Just like your dog, they're really into Huckleberry stink. They're like, oh, this is enough. so they... I
think one part I really liked here is that they lift the trap door to get inside with their very human strength. And I just thought, hey, you're in the trap hour, we'll join you.
With your below average human strength, yes. Also, I just can't stress this enough. You just cut that scene if you're going to do this, but we showed them that, like, the Lightning Man jumped out of the bushes and, like, he's here, yeah. We said. And so he's, like, waiting for them. Are you guys you guys had all week to do this, right? Like, why am I seeing you prepared now? Like, why is this happening now? How can we in the future, how can we plan this out so that it works better? Like, you guys need to work with me. So they sneak into the trap, they assemble the axe, and Willie goes temporarily insane. This is something when we covered this episode initially for the Dog Zone. This is something I didn't appreciate was Willie's character. This is not in Willie's character. This is a Wild Bill moment. Wild Bill would have grabbed the axe and gone nuts. Instead, Willie grabs it, who's the calmest, chillest guy on the team. He grabs the axe in both hands, screams, "We got the Thunder Axe! Yeah!" And he lifts it to the sky and says, "We have the power!" Like, he went completely
He's in the
fucking mad.
appropriate age group to grow up with He-Man, though. He's just quoting He-Man.
Yeah. It's cute.
But
nobody...
this is the moment when they have assembled their own gauntlet and they undo the snap and bring everybody back. That's this moment. They've not won, but they've assembled all of their stones, all of the parts that they have gone through time to collect. And now that we have the power moment, that's when in the film production, they brought back half the population of the universe that had been disappeared.
Now, I don't really remember Endgame very well, but once Thanos has the whole thing like assembled, do all of the other Avengers start cracking the fuck up? Because that's what they do when Willie goes, "We have the power." They pan around the little metal teepee, and everybody's just fucking laughing and smiling, and like this is supposed to be the tensest moment in the whole show.
Iron Man died, so they were all really sad.
Everybody's
Mountain Monsters is better.
Nobody knew he was going to do that. That was great. They run back outside to put the axe in the little mini trap hutch. The Lightning Man just waiting for them to do that. Now they have to let him touch the axe so they can comically, as Sean said, yoink it away. And that's when a sudden lightning storm forms out of nowhere because we forgot that he was called Lightning Man because he was quick. And then we forgot that we forgot and we gave him power over electrical devices. So now
he can do weather stuff. Like that's...
They're like, obviously he's called the Lightning Man because he's a lightning-powered Bigfoot. Like, that must have been what we said. I'm not going back and checking the tape. Like, we're not allowed to do that. Kolb will not let us see that. He says it's funnier if we don't. And he's right. He's right every time. So now he has lightning powers. And and he strikes the B team, Wild Bill's team, with Bigfoot lightning. He calls down lightning from the sky to strike a tree, to light it on fire, and to presumably kill all of the B team. It just arcs out of the sky, but the camera just glitches. It cuts out momentarily, like that it was overloaded and all too much, and everybody's on the ground. And like in reality, yeah, you're all dead. You all just died.
Yeah, because I think the listeners are probably imagining that they did like an effect of lightning coming down from the sky. It's not that. They did like a thing. They like flashed to white or something.
Yeah,
and
they
cut
faked
the camera.
the electrical outage.
Then they set a tree on fire.
They did.
Which I guess they just covered it in lighter fluid and set it on fire. And then
Looks
everybody's
like
on the ground. And immediately a truly shocking moment when Huckleberry says to camera, "In my 49 years, I've never had a lightning bolt hit that close to me."
49?
He's 49? Because I'm 49.
That's a rough 49, buddy.
Yeah.
Is that what he meant? Did I mishear?
Maybe that's his Bigfoot hunting years. Maybe he started hunting Bigfoots when he was like 8.
What could you possibly be saying? There's no way. He's just really vain and lying about his age. He's like, I'm passing for 49, right, boys? Like, yeah. Yeah, you're passing.
Come to Huckleberry's 49th birthday party. Giggle.
Only his 26th, 49th birthday party. So a lightning bolt has just taken out the B team. Great fucking moment. A new moment of escalation. And it's Huckleberry who recovers first, and he runs over to Jeff to like revive him, and Jeff finally gets his moment to piss himself. He has pissed himself. And Buck
Jeff
runs
has
over.
been killed. They like throw a healing potion on Jeff. He was killed in this fight.
They brought him back, but he went down. He lost those saving throws.
Yeah, he saw God.
They show his boot on the ground. Wild Bill says, "Holy bleep, it blowed your boot off."
And then Buck wakes him up, and the first thing he sees after dying and coming back, hopefully thinking like, I'm going to open my eyes to my eternal reward, he opens his eyes to Buck looking down at him, and Buck says, "I got some bad news, brother. Your boot blew off and you pissed your pants." And that's how he knows he's in hell.
So here
St. Peter told him the same thing.
This is the moment that, of course, in the film becomes Tony Stark sacrificing himself. Because here's Jeff being killed by the lightning, and where Tony Stark's final last words were, "I'm Iron Man," Jeff's line is, "A huge boom blew the piss out of me."
And my boot flew off.
And my boot flew off.
That's the brightest light I've ever seen in my whole life.
So when you had another chance to punch up the scene, I get why they went a different direction. Still prefer the original.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Yep.
It beats I'm Iron Man every time. Huge boom blew the piss out of me.
What's really funny here is that they think they're done. Like, they all kind of have the vibe of like, well, that's the end of our episode. They're like, we saw Bigfoot, we paid our pants, they're going to think twice before they visit Blair County again. But then the trap goes off and they're reminded like, oh, fuck, we're the guardians of the sacred artifact.
Let's see if we didn't just give it to him. If this incredibly stupid plan for a trap, that if the 99.99% chance that it wouldn't work is in fact how it turned out, and now the Lightning Man controls the universe and we're all his sex slaves or whatever.
No, that's what it would be. We've established that in Bigfoot lore. No, so the trap went off, and they run down there, and Buck reminds them all like, hey, don't just run in there like wooting and hollering like this is exciting. Because Bigfoot, Lightning Man, and his Thunder Brothers, they could still be here, which is incredible. Right. Another note they have taken. Like, why would they have left? And they really wouldn't have left. Remember, this isn't like any one of their other hunts, which is where the object is to catch the creature. The creature's object is to not be caught, so it wants to run. They specifically want that axe beyond anything. They want the whole world destroyed. They would not run away when the trap goes down. Like, they would be trying to get to it or something. They would have absolutely no reason to run away. So when they do arrive, they ran away. They ran away. They were scared. They were scared by the trap going down. They were all just really shy, and they ran off. And so they get to celebrate. The Thunder Axe is in there. They got their win condition. It was dragging a prop they made 8 feet into a metal teepee, but still it was a win condition, and they met it. And Jeff, with his hair all messed up, soaked in his own piss, one socked foot in the mud, says, "Hallelujah, boys, we won."
While he could barely stand, covered in piss.
Well, he's currently having a heart attack.
2 men's piss. He has the piss of 2 men on him.
Hallelujah, it was worth it. I've taken more piss for less. Huckleberry says, "By God, I've got happy feet," and then he dances like the little penguin from the movie. So that's cute. He must have great granddaughters or something. I have 49.
At 49.
At 49, and Willie goes to get the Forest golf cart because they need to get the axe and Jeff to safety. And I just like that Jeff has now gone from being like a celebrating part of the team to the damsel in distress. We have to protect you. Poor little piss-soaked Jeff.
In fairness to the team, they hear the thunder and like, oh, we've got to get out of here. They still exist.
They ran away, but they clearly control lightning, and we're not safe under the sky anymore. Wherever we go under sky is no longer safe.
They're presumably like just in the bushes nearby, going, "Dang, we almost had the prophesized super axe." It was.
So they get to safety. The whole team gets to safety, and Wild Bill runs in for the team cheer. He runs up and he says, "What do I like saying, huh?" And the whole team answers, "Nothing." They ignore him. They just straight ignore him. It's so sad. It's just a high five that they're going to leave him hanging on forever. Buck says now they have the axe. Now that what they need to do is disassemble it and bury the pieces again. And then write their own riddles so they can reassemble the Thunder Axe again later.
Yeah. Just like in the movie, they had to take each stone and go back in time and put it back in the individual timeline where they got it from.
God damn it, it works so well. God damn
Perfect.
It is really, truly perfect. I do have a couple of problems with the Mountain Monsters plot, which is that this requires them to write riddles, a bar they've proven they can't clear. Like they wrote these and they wrote, "It's in the cabin." What's your riddle? The ancient Sphinx has a riddle for you. What is in the cabin? Is it the thing I'm looking for?
Yeah, they added that whole Raiders of the Lost Ark like laser light show thing, and even that turned out to just be a red herring.
And also, I also have a problem with that they never used the Thunder Axe against the Lightning Man. They keep saying like it can be used to thwart him. No. You didn't. It had no abilities after him. It did not thwart him at all. You fucked up and broke the spell of safekeeping, and this was the only way to reactivate the spell. At no point did the axe itself play into this at all. You do not, in this lore, you do not need to maintain the axe. You need to destroy it. You need to just ruin it. You just burn it.
And in fact, all they did was reset the status quo to where they were when they started, which is in this region, the Lightning Man has been terrorizing people for 300 years, and he's going to keep doing that.
Because he's looking for the axe. You're going to hide it here again. He's going to keep looking for it. Because he's like doomed to do that. So you've just reset it right back to where you were. You've decided like we may not leave the world any better, but it's not any worse. It's just a little more piss soaked. And that's the change that
Avengers
we made.
ending.
We're leaving this changed. So Buck closes us out with this monologue. The Lightning Man is by far the most mysterious Bigfoot this team's ever sought after. He can turn your lights out, so he can strike in the darkness. He has a whole slew of Bigfoots that he can command, but we showed him that nothing will stand between us and our obsession to prove that Bigfoot exists in the Appalachian Mountains. You have his axe. His fingerprints are on it. He grabbed you on camera. How is the quest to prove he exists when the side quest you went on was to save the world from him?
I love the idea of, again, starting from an actual scientific pursuit, which is proving that this species is still around and has not been cataloged, to, hey, we found it. Also, it controls the weather and aspires to take over the world with a magical axe.
With the magical axe that we had to assemble.
Yeah.
Here is my paper. I would like to defend my dissertation now.
That is actually in the glove box of Wild Bill's pickup that he accidentally sold and left it in there.
So I don't have any more notes about what's said throughout the rest of this episode. That surely must be the end of it.
No one would have written down the elephant balls thing.
The what thing?
Well, I don't know what he's talking about, but he's referencing something. So what is it because I turned it off at this point.
Well, maybe we should just get to our favorite quotes from the episode then. Sean, let's have you go first.
Okay. There was a line Huckleberry said where he says, "We got a hell of a lot of heart and enough balls to make an elephant blush." I thought that was pretty moving. There's a few times where he was talking about coming hard at the Bigfoot, but I think the one that made me laugh the most was when Buck said, we already described it a little bit, he says, "We're going to write a riddle. That way we can reassemble the Thunder Axe in case we have to use it against the Lightning Man again." And it's that again that made me laugh so hard.
Oh, shit. I'll go next. I think, God, Buck was on fire in this one. I think my favorite Buck line is when Shannon is telling them the long and dramatic story of Lightning Man and the Thunder Axe. And he has this little stone that Buck has found, and he goes, "Buck, this is the Thunderblade. The Lightning Man has it. It's the only thing that defeat him." And Buck says, "Thunderblade, huh? I never heard of that before." And then he puts his fingers to his lips and he looks like, "Well, that's intriguing. Thunderblade. Bigfoot's Thunderblade, you say." Just a little undersold moment, but Really nice. Jason?
Now, the people who've watched the episode know which one they think I'm going to pick, because obviously the final line of Avengers Endgame is Steve Rogers saying, having, come back from the past, return the last stone. He's returned as an old man. And he says, no, I don't think I will. In a very serene way that says he's satisfied with the life he's led, the long life. In this episode, the final line is Wild Bill saying, let's go to West Virginia. My old butt's beat, brother. But that's not my favorite line of the episode, because there's one that's only nothing else counts, which is Buck saying to the team they've gathered there, that right there is the handle of the Thunder Axe. Now we have to find the lashing. That's going to be on you because I have to go back to work.
Because you have to be a Bigfoot, did you? You have to open up your mouth. You have to be a Bigfoot.